Be in here in like 5 minutes. But I think we need to get started. So we'll have to be quiet for a little bit. A little more quiet probably than normal, but I don't really have a problem with that. The live feed will just have to pick up what it does. And then I think they'll be here in 5 minutes or so. 5-10 minutes. We're going to get started with an opening prayer. And Robert is going to lead us in that prayer. And then he's going to take the floor to talk about some things in Area 3, some things that are on his mind that he wanted to address. And then, do we have an area assistant from Area 4 that would like to go after Robert? Okay. Okay, so just come on up when Robert's done. If Robert goes too long, I'll kick him in the shins. Yeah, so Robert, move our hat, please.
Okay, first off, I'm going to start off by saying I'm not the biggest fan of public prayers. I think that our best prayers are heard just between us and God. Those are our most powerful ones. Amen. So you haven't heard me, most likely haven't heard me ever give a prayer, except unless you're in my house sometime for some family function maybe. But I was asked a while ago to lead the prayer at a meeting, and you know, my version of this, I felt like, okay, I'm going to write a prayer, but I don't want to be repetitious, like, you know, the son warned us about, and repeating stuff over and over again. And when he gave us the Lord's Prayer, it wasn't, in my opinion at least, it wasn't to be said exactly word for word every time. It was giving us a format. So in my prayer, I use the format, but it's not word for word whatsoever. So I'll read it now. Our Father, who compassionately rules in realms we can't understand, your spirit above all. Please help us to understand your will for each and every one of us, even if we can't understand your full plan. Let us hear your voice today and every day, and remind us to judge with love and compassion as you have shown us, so that we will be judged in this same fashion. Let us hear your voice so loud the deceiver has no place. We understand we are weak, but in your kingdom there is glory, power, and grace that reaches past all worldly things. Help us to see more through your eyes so that we can see victory in what the world sees as defeat. As you displayed in sending your Son. The world thought they were defeating you and him, but it was our greatest victory provided by you. We ask your Holy Spirit to be here with us as you promised when 2 or more were gathered in your name. To remind us to pray in the dark and to help people to understand your will and to follow the example of your Son. We ask this in your Son's name. Amen. Amen. And kind of in this spirit, it's kind of funny. God talks to me in weird ways. Not everybody understands that. I think some of it takes some discernment and such. And I think he speaks to all of us differently. I was listening to some music today and kind of decided that I don't really like the whole public speaking thing as much. I'm nervous. But listening to some music and stuff today, which does kind of reach me, I felt kind of compelled to speak to some of the stuff that's going on. And that prayer came, and it's kind of funny. I started getting prepared to come here, and I changed my clothes out, and I went into where my shirts are at. I keep my nice shirts in one area, and the bad ones in a drawer. And the only shirt I had that was in that area was this shirt. Matters how you stand. Spoke to what I wanted to speak about, what I was feeling more and more compelled to speak about, is that when we are doing things, we need to keep that. It matters how you stand. It doesn't matter how the world sees it. Because remember, you know, I'm speaking mostly to Christians and stuff. You know, if you don't believe that, take it for what you will. But they hated him. They had no reason they hated him. His options were really bad. I mean, he was causing dissent amongst, you know, the Jewish people and causing uprisings. That's why the government took care of him. We, the people, asked the government to take care of him. We didn't stand. You know, not us personally, but back then. And I was recently with an attorney and speaking about, you know, making that stand. I don't like the idea where people say, we need to be arrested. We don't need to be arrested. We need to give those officers an opportunity to uphold their oath and not arrest us, to make them better. I was recently talking to a guy. He said, well, you're kind of a whipping boy for the government. I said, yeah, I would agree. Because they find me guilty a lot. It's funny, when I was doing more criminal stuff, I could beat the system fairly good. But now that I stand on the Constitution, they got 100% success rate. So, it's, and the world would see, well, then you're not making any difference. No, I am. Well, but you still were convicted. I was convicted by the world. But that conviction has no power because first I was convicted by God. I don't want to be here. I want to be home, taking care of my babies. I can make some decent money. I can fix my house up real nice. There's lots of things that I would rather do. But I feel that I was compelled to make this step. And it's progressed. I mean, if you would have told me, definitely if you would have told me 5 years ago I was going to show up to any, politician's house to what? Do their drywall? I mean, fix their foundation? I never would have thought that. But we've progressed to that point at this time. And I understand, especially people who haven't been paying attention, and I noticed this group, we bring a lot of those people they had confidence in the government. They believed in their local officials. They thought they were doing what's right. And through this mask thing, you're starting to realize, wait a minute, the government over and over again has ruled that they do not have the responsibility to protect you. That when kids are being shot, they don't have the responsibility to protect you. But when it comes to a mask, they have the authority to protect you. Wow. It can't be both ways. We have to pick it. And the government is never going to save us. This fight is hard, and in my opinion, it's a worthy battle. And as far as the whipping boy thing, I think that's fine. Because I try not to see it in the worldly fashion. Because our Savior, if you believe in Christ, our Savior was our whipping boy. If I can take some of that whipping, fine. I don't see it. What the world sees when they arrest me or they put me out on TV saying that I'm trying to intimidate kids, what the world sees is some armed guy going to somebody's house to try to intimidate and harass them. What God sees is that I'm going there trying to get them to understand all the harm they're doing to everybody. That my intention going there is love. And yes, everybody thinks, oh, love is always, hey, can you please? No. I put it like with your kids, okay? I love my kids. I mean, I'll give anything for my kids. There's nothing in this world I love more than my kids in this world. And if my kid goes running out into this aisleway when there's a car coming in, and I grab him and swat him on the butt, did I hate him? No. Did I hit him because I hated my boy? No, I hit him because I loved him. I wanted to get his attention. Hey, I gave you a swat, that car may have killed you. And it's just because you have to, I'm not saying go spank your legislator. But at least not literally. But there's other ways to discipline kids. Mine, my go-to is sit on the stairs. They hate that. I used to spank my kids until I gave them the option of either getting a spanking or sitting on the stairs. They chose the sitting on the stairs once. From then on out, they chose the spanking, so I took spanking off the table. Now they have to sit on the stairs. And you'd be surprised, it works on a 16-year-old too, because she thinks you're treating her like a 5-year-old. Well, and that's what we need to be correcting our government. We don't need to hate our government. We can do it. It's a fine line in there, but we can do it with love. We can care about, say, an officer. Hey, I care about you. What about your oath? What about what you became a cop for?
Right.
Was that to pay your mortgage? Because if it was to pay your mortgage, you kind of got it wrong. And, when it comes down to it, for those of us who believe in God, we have to remember to store up treasures in heaven. And he told us to love our enemy. And that's hard. I know it's really hard. It's hard for me, too. But you can love, and the way to love your enemy is to not do it out of hate, to do it out of love. When I tell a cop, hey, don't do this, you're going to be, when it comes down to it, the cops are going to be a target of a lot of people. And because they're the enforcers. I see them as a victim in this situation. I'm trying to help them So when, it is perfectly fine, I've done it myself. Yelling at them, I call them Nazis, I'm not perfect, but when you try to do it out of love, I'll tell you it gets a lot further. When you're calling them Nazis, when you're calling them pieces of crap, just for no reason at all, they're like, okay, another cop here. But when you say, hey, you're a bad guy because I was out there standing for children and being peaceful, not hurting a soul, and you came in and arrested me, then they're like, well, it wasn't my call. Okay, but who is the one taking me to jail? Well, but I have my mortgage to pay. At some point, we got to understand, and in our community also, that God will provide for us. He has my whole life. I should be in prison, dead. I should not be here. I'll tell you that much. And we need to be self-sufficient, and we can't. If we depend on government, then we are giving government power. Right. And I say that in anything. When my mother-in-law gave me money to buy the house I live in right now, we're paying her back. We actually still owe her money, but we're paying her back as agreed, and soon we're going to be paying her off completely. I still have a debt there that money doesn't satisfy because I have been dependent on her. The more dependence you have on the government, the more you are their slave. A servant isn't the same as a slave, in my opinion. I'm a servant. I help people through my own free will. A slave who does wears that mask because they got to keep their job. For the Christians, remember, he told us to not worry about the things that kill the body, but to worry about the things that kill the immortal soul. And I can't tell you what that is for you. You have to have a personal relationship with him, and I think that we as a group at least hold those principles, even if we call God whatever we want to call it. And I just urge people individually to do this. When you go out, remember it's love in your heart. It's okay to say, hey, you're a jerk. You're doing stuff wrong. You're yelling is okay. God does it. And, just remember that to try to love that person because God gave us the right. He gave us the right to disobey him. If he gave us the right to disobey him, who am I to say that you're doing it wrong? Stand with, your convictions, and I don't know, I think at this point I'm kind of battling on. I just hope that people, go forth with the spirit, not just the idea. Have the idea with the spirit in mind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Lonnie Caldwell, I am an Area 4 assistant, live over there in Boise. We've kind of been the center of attention here for a while. Things have been working out pretty good. We won a couple of victories. How many Area 4 people have I got in here? You Area 3 people, turn around and look at some beauty. Come on. I love all of you. And I second everything that Robert said. Our Wednesday night meetings, very productive. We're forming groups. We've got groups on ham radio. Somebody help me out. What else? First responder medical training. Homeschoolers.
Survival.
Yeah, well, survival class coming up this Saturday. Am I right?
Handyman.
Handyman service. Friday, the winter survival. Is the instructor here? Is that you? That's you? You want to stand up? What's your name?
Alonzo Frederico.
Okay.
That's what's on my phone.
Well, you can call yourself whatever you want to. We're all friends.
My name is Doug Gross. I'm a 20-year mountaineering veteran. And so tomorrow night, same location we were at last night, Frank's place.
Right.
7 o'clock. I'll be teaching a 6-week course in 2 hours.
There we go.
But we're going to take a look at some basic ideas related to winter survival. If you break down on the side of the road or whatever, you find yourself in those circumstances that you didn't anticipate. So, we'll cover some things on that tomorrow night from 7 till 9-ish.
Thank you, Senor Federico.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, we're busy, and like we said last week, this is the place where we get together and make up the strategies, right? But where the real work takes place is down at the area level. So, please get to those Area 4 meetings, they're very important. And I'm an area assistant, there's 8 of us now, I think. Not near enough, we need some more. We got some folks in the works, we're checking them out. Some of them are a little shady, you know what I'm saying, so we gotta look them over. But anyway, we're gonna need more people. We gotta divide Area 4 up. It's a huge area. Ada County, Valley County, Elmore County, Boise County, and we got people spread all over the place. So we're gonna need some folks in Valley County. We're gonna need some folks in Boise and Elmore as well. Most of us are concentrated in Ada, so we need to spread out. What is an area assistant? You're a servant. You're here to facilitate. You're here to recognize talent in other people and potential and ability and help them put that to work somewhere. And I say that because I want you to understand that you shouldn't expect me to go do the work. I mean, I'm going to get in there with you. I love that. But you are what you are. You're the backbone. You're the driving force. You're the ones with the potential and the understanding and the creativity. We need you. Please show up at these meetings. I'm not sure. Am I missing anything, Frank? No. Anything you think of, Dana? What do you got, buddy?
I'm Dan Chisholm.
Dan Chisholm, you big sexy bugger. Look at you. Dan's from up there in Boise County.
Roden Creek.
And I think you and Mr. Francisco back there got a lot in common. So, winter survival, herbalism, we got a homeopathy class, I know.
It's December 26th, the day after Christmas, 12 to 3.
Okay, so we're busy, folks. Thank you for your time. I love all of you guys. Thank you for being here tonight.
Okay, there's some work that needs to be done, but it needs to be delegated. We started to do this months and months ago, but we never did get it completely done. We could have benefited from that. And that is, we need a list or some type of place where we can all go to and find the businesses that are friendly to freedom, right? I mean, I know, like, for myself, you know, you get this, like, and you shouldn't, but you get this, like, I just don't want to deal with it, right? I just don't want to deal with it. And so, you know, we can know beforehand and support those businesses that are supporting freedom. And the other side of it is I'm done supporting any business that is not going to respect an individual's choice. I'm done with that. I don't want to support anybody. And I don't want the hassle, and I don't want to, you know, feel the anxiety of going into a business and wondering if I'm going to leave out of there in handcuffs. So, but what we need somebody or a group of people, and it does need to be done by area. So we have Area 3 and we have Area 4 here, and we need to start putting together. But this is the thing: is the interesting thing about this meeting is the things that come out of this meeting, they go national, right? We're building tools for everybody. We're learning. That's why you guys are like the guinea pigs. Or really, we're working together on it, so it's not really a guinea pig. We're like, you know, we're not poking each other with needles, right? But we are experimenting on each other, right? And as we come up with something that works, then we create a tool and we send it to everybody. So we need area assistants. I know you're listening the most here, but we need people that could help put together a way to get businesses to come on and sign up. some way to promote it, and then some way to, and this isn't just, we need to obviously focus on Area 3 and Area 4, but we need to create the tools so that all the other areas across the country can also do the same thing in their area. Speaking of that, let me see if I'm logged in. No, so I'll log in really quick. I'm not gonna get the projector here. But if you go, we are now in 34 states, 359 areas. We have 42,040 people. Let me look where we're at here. In Area 3, which we are now, it's just crazy. Every time I look down, there's more. So, no, I'm not joking. Remember last week, I made a joke that the day before we were at 666?
Yeah.
And it scared me, right? Well, we are now in Area 3 at 710. I mean, think about the growth. That's like what? Almost 50 people?
Just a few minutes ago it was 7:01.
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago. Yeah. What's that?
I said handing out those cards everywhere you go works. I spent
Yeah.
all afternoon.
And that's what John down, right? John?
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here, you know. Where did he go? He's shriveled away, so I can't even see him anymore. There he is. Welcome, John. So John survived COVID. And look, he lost one pound.
I found it.
I don't invite you. You know what, Hammond? God bless you for staying in contact with me always, and a lot of the area assistants, Alicia, who brought me herbs. I beat this with herbs.
And John, do you have diabetes?
And I'm a type 2 diabetic. And you know what? I feel, I'm still weak, but I feel good. You know why? It's because I'm back with my family.
That's right.
So we need someone to contact your area assistants. I could take volunteers right now and write down names, but I think it would be better to contact your area assistant if you're willing, or if you have some experience in business, if you got some time. It's going to take some time, and we don't even know the best way to do it. Somehow we have to attract these businesses to come and actually register, and then it would be only for people's rights. So, because we're not going to blast their information out everywhere unless they log in and get it. So there's just a little bit of protection there for them. Anyway, we need people to do it. Yes, hands here, Matt.
Sorry, so my thought is just do it the same way we sign up. Just make it for business. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, but what we need is somebody to think through the process, of what we want to do. What we could build a page, right? We could send that page and market it out to everybody or to the businesses. We could, blast it out. We could do it, but there needs to be someone who will take ownership in it, and then the tools can be created according to the path that they think it should go, including the businesses, registering, and then other people getting on it. And we actually started it. I don't know if you remember, Diego, but we actually started this. So we actually have the list of all the different business types. So you can go there and say, restaurant, and then you say Italian restaurant, it'll bring it all down. And that all can be entered in. But someone needs to take ownership in it, or a group of people need to take ownership in it and guide the process of how they want it. And then we will build the tools behind it. Right, Nate? Good. All right. So please don't, this is an opportunity for people to act. And I would think that 4 or 5 people, or maybe 3 or 4 people could do it. But it's going to take some effort, and it's going to take some time. And I don't think the need is going to go away anytime soon. Okay? So let's see here. Just getting through some business items. I do want to make aware, I'm not going to try to hook my computer up to the projector because I still haven't replaced it and the screen's broken. But I am going to show, so by the show of hands, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but who has logged in? Yeah, that's a pretty good amount. Okay? So those of you who haven't, then go to peoplesrights.org. If you're getting the text messages, then you have your own personal homepage. And you can go to log in, and the first time you have to use your phone number, and it'll send you an access code.
That's really slick, by the way.
Yeah, it's good, huh? Some people do use it every time, but you don't have to. You can then create a password, and then, like in my phone, it saves the password, so when the FBI gets it, they have no problem getting into it. No. And now I got facial recognition, so it doesn't matter if I'm dead or alive, they can still get into my phone. That's not a very good joke. So anyway, but it makes it really easy to get into people's rights, right? And I don't want to give anybody ideas here, but anyway, I get into it, and then I go right into it, and this is what my homepage. It says, "Hi, I'm in area Idaho 3," and it has all your messages, my role, account, all of that. It shows me how many people are in my area. It has all the ham radio information and a whole bunch of other stuff. And
Newsroom.
yes, the newsroom. Thank you. It has the newsroom. We've also put your area news feed below, so that's good. And then there's something else, and I hesitate bringing this up, but and I don't know why, but there has been a very small group of individuals that have funded people's rights, and they're not billionaires or millionaires. Okay, and it is expensive to develop. Before this, I developed a fleet maintenance software, that I sold, and now is becoming a national fleet maintenance software, one of the leading fleet maintenance softwares in the country, actually. But it took us 3.5 years to build it, and nearly $500,000. And that's with us hiring our own developers. And so the fact that we build a software like we have right now, with the little costs that we have been able to do that, because of so many people willing to donate their time and do it for just almost nothing, is tremendous. But it does still cost a lot of money, and we're getting large enough that we can't bear the load anymore. We have to share it. So we have on the homepage a Help Us button, okay, where you can go and give a gift and help us. Help. You could, I would encourage, just go in there and $20 a month, or whatever you think you can do, right? There's a way very simple, very easy way to help. And we've tried not to, we've gone 10 months and never asked for anything really. People have help, but we've never asked. We've never wanted it to be about money. And the neat thing about the way we've got it built is when we cover our costs and have a little buffer, we're no longer going to collect until it drops down again and we need to collect again. Because the last thing we want to do is to have an organization with a whole bunch of money in an account, and then there's a whole bunch of bad things that happen along with that, including the government then begins to act like they own you. And that's exactly what we do not want. And so just know that there's integrity behind this. And if you go to that, I'll open it up. I know you can't see it, but we actually are showing exactly how many texts have been going out. So for example, let me give you this idea. Since we started, which actually this software, remember we had another one that we were using as a service until we built this one. So when did we go live? Probably May, June, right around there, right? So since that time, 677,782 text messages have gone out. Right? 209,123 emails and 75,195 secured messages. Isn't that awesome? But also then below that, I won't go through that, it actually shows our exact, there's a few things we haven't got in there, but our exact cost. It shows what's costing, what it cost in the last 7 days, 30 days, and total. And then how much we have collected through help donations, okay? And so this will always be live. It every day updates. So you will know exactly what it is costing to run and to operate people's rights. And there'll be some monthly stuff that gets in there that we have to put in once a month, of course, but this is complete transparency. And we're asking you to, ask yourself, is people's rights worth it? Is it worth it? Because to be honest with you, there may be a time where as a people, we're gonna have to give a lot more than $20 a month. A lot more. But right now, we can do a tremendous amount in defending ourselves with just small donations, because we have such good people that are willing to give basically almost all their time and talent to basically making this happen. So,
Was that help button just added?
yeah,
I do it all the time.
it just came live like an hour ago. Not even an hour ago. Now, we've been working with it, and we just got it to where we felt like the assistants have had it for like, I don't know, a week or so. They've been kind of playing with it back and forth. We want to make sure that the money wasn't going to the IRS, that it was actually going to our account. You had to check all that. So, yeah, it just barely came on. Okay, enough about that. Okay, so I have, where'd she go? Would you come up here? I have a wonderful young lady who has a story that she's going to tell us. And then after that, John, would you mind sharing some music? And then we'll go to that point.
Hey, Hammond.
Yes.
Since you brought up Area 3, I remember we were talking about splitting Area 4 because we were approaching 1,000.
Yes.
We're over 1,100 right now in Area 4.
I know. There's a lot of work that has to be done there, and I'm not sure the area systems have completely decided how they're going to do all that.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying we're still growing.
Oh yeah, Area 4. So Area 4 has almost,
1,137.
so we split Area 1 because they hit 1,000, months and months ago. And then Area 4 was shortly after that, and how many are in there for Area 4?
It was 1,137.
1,137, so great job, Area 4. All right, here's my beautiful friend.
Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Markle, and first of all I would like to thank Ammon for inviting me to speak tonight. And I would also like to thank everyone for being here tonight. I'll be talking... Huh?
Move the mic.
I will be talking about how I found out and got involved with people's rights. Also, I will talk a little bit about communists because my parents came from Romania, which is a communist country. Back in July, a friend told me that the Southwest District of Health wanted to mandate masks. Back then, I didn't even know what a protest was like. But one thing I knew was that in order to have liberty, you must fight for it. I never thought that communism will come to America, because America was founded on freedom and liberty. So I went to Southwest District. That's where I found Ammon and Lori. And I've seen how their courage, which built me. The Southwest District workers were trying to intimidate us by saying that they are not going to let us in the public meeting and that they will call the police if we go inside. So when I saw that, I said, well, then are we going to leave? And that's when Ammon came in with the Constitution and said, we are not going to leave, and stated the law from the Constitution. Finally, we got inside the building. There was also a mother holding her child, and one of the Southwest District of Health workers smacked the baby in the head with the door, which proves that they don't care anything about anybody's health. It's all about control. The reason I knew about communism is because my parents came from Romania, which is a communist country. And in communists, they want you to comply and to control. To comply and control you how they like. The government would set limits on how much food you can have in a month. They would also shut the water down, so people had to store water in the bathtub so that they can use it for the toilet. If they forgot, they would have no water until the next day. They would also shut down the electricity. People had to stay in hours in long lines in the snow to buy some food or water. They would get in there, when they would get there, they would tell them to turn around and go back because they don't have any more food. So they would go back home hungry and didn't even have food to feed their children. The church was censored by the government, and whoever met in a place that was not monitored was arrested in jail and beat up. Christians had to hide and put pillows and towels in the windows so that police wouldn't see or hear them. When they had to pray and sing silently in order to not be heard. Many probably heard about the story of Richard Wurmbrand. Then farmers had to report the government how much livestock they had, and the government would choose how many they could have. They would also steal their animals, saying that everything belongs to the government. They were not allowed to eat the animals that they raised. Then the government kicked the people out of their own homes and took their private property and placed them in the high-rise buildings. And whoever didn't want to give their private homes and land to the government, they brought the military and killed the people who did not want to comply. In 1989 was the revolution, Civil War, where the people stood up and fought to get their liberty back. And lots of innocent people were killed because of that. In conclusion, they want compliance, which equals communism, and communism leads to persecution and death for those who do not want to comply. I am very glad to be part of people's rights, and I want everyone to wake up and stand up and fight for freedom and liberty. The best principle I learned here at People's Rights is uniting neighbors, defending your rights, and defending your neighbors. On Tuesday, we had a double victory at Southwest District of Health and Central District of Health, where the Area 4 and Area 3 went together. That's the power of unity. And I want to thank everyone that was there. And my message to everyone tonight is fight for liberty. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Nice catch.
I'm John Dingledine, and I'm in Area 4.
Yes,
And Lonnie's my guy, yeah. I'm honored to be here. That young lady I was with her in the morning in Caldwell, and she does have great courage and great bravery.
Yeah.
We need to speak out. And we all need to speak out, don't we? They gave her the horn, and she went to town. And so with Buffalo Jay and a few other people, it was really a good meeting. So so my role really is to shift the atmosphere, bring peace in a place. And if you understand what frequencies do and what vibrations do, and releasing a thing, imparting to the earth, like as sons of God and daughters of the living God, when you impart a thing to the earth, everything that's created is underneath your feet. It's subject to you and what you say and what you speak. So when it's not, you don't have to be eloquent. You can call out something, and you can declare something and proclaim things, and they will come to pass.
Amen.
You understand? So you declare, you submit yourself unto God, and just say, you know what, Holy Spirit, it's up to you what you want to do. And I will lead from behind instead of out in front. You give me the words, and I'll impart to the earth and to the area that I'm in, and the atmosphere and the environment that I live, freedom. And I'll impart it over and over again. Because God gave it to me, the government didn't give it to me. The county didn't give it to me. And you can do that. And I implore you to do that with your voice, with your mouth. And so that's why, that's what I've been blessed with from what he's given me. So this song is from the Aaronic blessing, and you probably know it. Aaronic, yeah, the Aaronic blessing, and something I'm going to impart to you, and you can impart to each other if you know the words. Please sing, please. Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face toward you and give you peace. Lord, bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. Lord, turn his face toward you and give you peace. Sing amen with me, please. Jason said last month, we know it's the truth, so you can stand by it, and you can stand in it in power, with authority. Okay, last part. weeping, celebrating. He's with you, he's with you in the morning and the evening, in your comings, in your goings, in your weeping, celebrating. He's with you, he's with you. Amen. Sing it out. Amen. Sing it one more time. Sing it. Amen.
Awesome job, brother. Okay. Might have to scoot this back a little bit so everybody can see. Let's see if yeah, it's already zoomed in all the way. Okay. Let's see if we can bring it back a little more. There it is. Yeah? Okay, that should be good enough. Well, what's up, everybody? Appreciate that song, my brother, and everybody for speaking. I gotta tell you, what was your name? We just spoke from Romania. Your folks are from Romania? Jessica. You really touched my heart. I had a very, very close friend of mine for many years who was a missionary to Romania in the early 80s. And he used to tell me stories that used to just break my heart and crush me. And hearing your story there was fantastic. So thank you for what you're doing. We really have no clue here in the U.S. And what we don't know is what we're experiencing right now. Everybody in a communist country will tell you this is how it starts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And in some places I've had them tell me, you guys are far beyond even where we were. Anyhow, it's not what I'm here to talk about. I have two things I'm going to talk about very, very, very quickly. The first one, and then Aaron asked me to talk about vaccines. I am not an expert. I'm not a medical doctor, obviously. But, you know, they put all this information out, and there's so much information to sift through. And some idiot has to go through all of it and sift through it all. And that usually ends up being me. And so, as you know, or maybe you don't know, the first COVID-19 vaccines, they started administering them in Idaho this week. Tuesday, I believe it was. From Pfizer. And December 10th, Pfizer, now you guys have been told for months, the vaccine is safe, the vaccine is, actually what they've been repeating over and over again, safe and effective. It's safe and effective. It's 95% safe and effective. It's 96% safe and effective. And they've been telling you that since July. And the very first tested, published report came out last week. So what are they, prophets? Obviously it's all propaganda. However, before I get into that, I have something to share with you really quick that most of you guys probably all know about, but I want to cover this very fast. And that is this. As you guys know, last week there was a protest at the Central District Health Meeting. We were there. Most of you guys, well, not most of you, but probably a lot of you. Who was there last week at Central District Health Meeting? And then this week as well. I apologize, I had to work this week and I wasn't there this week, but the previous week I was there. And there was at least 500 plus of you guys there, people fighting for their rights. It's amazing so many
many ways to think about it. So many things to talk about that particular issue. First of all, we shouldn't have to be there. These people have no authority. They shouldn't have authority. And they're not elected officials. They're just a bunch of bureaucrats. And they're just a bunch of unelected bureaucrats trying to pass law. And here's the most disgusting part about all this crap is that they have no power to create law. Yet if they would have passed those mandates, I guarantee you the law enforcement would still enforce it. And that's where the problem comes. I'm not going to talk about this at all about guns and law enforcement and stuff like that. I will just tell you this. We have an article that we'll be publishing on our blog here next week about what I believe to be what I call dumb Second Amendment supporters. And that doesn't mean that I think if you support the Second Amendment, you're dumb, because I support the Second Amendment. I believe in it wholeheartedly. What I do believe is that if you think that the only right that matters is the right to bear arms, and the only one you're willing to fight for is the Second Amendment, you're an idiot. Because the Second Amendment exists for a reason. The reason why the Second Amendment exists is to protect all your other rights. It's not so you can own a big boy toy and feel like you got testosterone charging through your veins. But too many men only care about the Second Amendment because it makes them feel tough. But they've taken away your First Amendment right. And not a peep. Take away your Fourth Amendment right. Not a peep. Take away your Fifth Amendment right. Not a peep. And here's the sad part about constitutionalists. That most people in the room would claim, I'm a constitutionalist, and you don't even know what those amendments are if I count them off one by one. Just this last week, an Idaho Supreme Court justice ruled that all jury trials in the state of Idaho are postponed. Are you ready? No. Indefinitely. Until further notice. Until further notice. That is a right guaranteed to you by both the 6th and 7th Amendments in the Constitution of the United States. Not a peep. Your 14th Amendment rights taken away. We can go on and on and on. I personally am of the opinion that even if Biden takes office and Kamala I stopped myself. Believe me, the rest of that, I had a webcast today and I said, wrong. You do not want to know what I said. There's another syllable after camel. You can figure it out. And I don't think, personally, that they're actually going to come after people's guns. I think they're going to make you think that they're going to come after your guns. But they don't have to come after your guns. You know why? Because the Second Amendment exists in order for us to protect our rights. That's why it exists. But they found out that they could just scare all you Second Amendment supporters, and you'll never use the Second Amendment to protect your other rights anyhow, and they already took them all away. Think about it. Pastors being arrested for having church. People being arrested for peaceful assembly. In this room right here. People were arrested. Those are your First Amendment rights. And basically, what I call a dumb Second Amendment supporter is someone who says this. Oh, they're arresting people who are going to church. That's terrible. But hey, they didn't get my guns. Hey, they're arresting people for peaceful protest. But no matter, I still got my AR. Hey, they're preventing me from traveling, which is denial of your due process rights in the Fifth Amendment.
That's right.
But doesn't matter to me because, hey, I still got all my guns in my safe. And I go down the whole list of all the rights they've taken away. And Second Amendment supporters, it doesn't matter because if they come after my guns, all of you, I dare you, come and see.
Yeah. I don't have a star card.
What difference does it make if you've got all the guns in the world and no food? Amen. You got ammo and no electricity. Amen. You have a whole rack of ARs, but you're not allowed to leave your house. Who gives a rip? So, yes, we have to fight for those rights, and thank you for you guys fighting for those rights. There's multiple layers of what's going on here. Someone, Robert, you were talking about law enforcement earlier, and you said that you see them as a victim. I agree. But they're victims, but they're also perpetrators. For those of you who know the story of the Bible, you remember what Jesus said when he spoke to Pilate. Pilate was the one who, just based on social pressure alone, nailed Jesus to the cross. He was guilty of no crime, other than the crowd, the mob mentality, which today exists on Twitter. And when he spoke to him, Pilate told him, for those who remember the story, that he said, don't you know I have power over you? This is a guy talking to Jesus Christ. And the Lord told him this. He said, you have no power except it was given to you from above. So those who sent you have the greater sin. In other words, the authorities above him were the bigger sinners. But that did not absolve Pilate of sin. So I'm here to tell you that the politicians and the bureaucrats sending the law enforcement officials to deprive us of our rights, they're the greater sinners by God's own code. But it does not absolve law enforcement themselves of also being sinners. So let's take the battle to the root. And many of you guys know that at the Central District Health meeting last week, after the protest was over with, all these Republican rhino loser worthless piece of trash, don't even get me started saying what I want to say about him, put out a statement on Facebook. And their statement on Facebook was denouncing and condemning you guys for protesting in order to maintain your rights. The people that you voted for. Some of them my personal friends, who I've been challenging since that day. They're all been silent. They put out the statement. The Ada County Sheriff, Steve Bartlett, came out the next day and said, ooh, I want to get on this party too. I'm going to denounce you guys too. Yeah, we can't have people going to people's homes. That is just uncalled for. How ignorant are you to the Constitution, number one, and the history, number two? Not only is it your right to protest in front of people's homes, but ladies and gentlemen, that is an American tradition. Do you understand? That's exactly what our founding fathers did. Are you going to arrest Samuel Adams? Are you going to arrest our other founding fathers? That's exactly what they were doing. Do you understand? No government official would ever care, ever, if we all got together and assembled in the middle of the woods somewhere, in the field somewhere, and said, no, we don't like what the government's doing. Nobody cares. And there'd be no reason to protect that right. All the rights exist. They exist because, guess what? We know government would try to stop that from happening. If you publish bad things about, exposing the government, they're going to try to shut you down. So they had to make it a right in the First Amendment. They want to control your faith because your faith directs you. So they know that if we don't give people freedom of religion and protect that right, the government's going to try to control it. And nobody cares if you get together and have a meeting. But if you come out in front of my house and start banging pots and pans and screaming and lighting fires, they did a whole lot worse back then than we did today. Trust me, they're looking down from heaven right now going, you guys are pitiful, man. In my day, we'd be stacking up the body bags already. That's what they're saying. You guys are weak. But it's because specifically they didn't want people coming to assemble in front of their homes. They didn't want that. So we have to protect that right because the government will try to shut it down. They're so ignorant to the Constitution and so ignorant to history that it's repeating itself. All they know is they look around and they go, ooh, they were protesting in front of people's homes. I don't want them protesting in front of my home. So we need to denounce this. And they all came out and denounced it together. Specifically, let me name them. Republican Party Chairman, Tom Piece of Trash Luna. They're all piece of trash. I'm naming them all piece of trash. U.S. Senator Jim Piece of Trash Risch. And some of these guys are my friends, by the way. But not anymore. Someone asked me that the other day. They said, yeah, I got too many friends. I need to get rid of them anyways. U.S. Senator Mike Piece of Trash Crapo. I should probably say piece of crap Crapo. We'll go through all of them. Look, it's all of them. I don't have time to tell them all a piece of trash, but you know they're all a piece of trash. We got Mayor Joe Steer, Ada County Republican Central Committee Chairman Victor Miller, Star Mayor Trevor Chadwick, Eagle Mayor Jason Pierce, Garden City Mayor John. These are little bitty towns, but they wanted to get on that bandwagon. Meridian Mayor Robert Simpson, Governor Brad Little, the disgrace, and both Congressmen Russ Fulcher and Mike Simpson. All of them came together and signed this statement together, denouncing all you guys. And I know you guys voted for some of these men. It's really, 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 really sad. Now, when I read that, I was furious. And so we wrote a response. And we blasted them, and some of you guys have all commented on that response. But then Emmett and I got together. We said, let's take it another step further. So we have a very short letter here that we wrote, and we sent this via certified mail to every single one of them yesterday. Has everybody read it already, or should I read it really quick? Read it? It says dear, and it names all those idiots, and so I won't name them all over again. And it says this: in a spirit of cooperation and mutual understanding, we would like to offer you Republican leaders the opportunity to debate us in a public forum. The topics for debate and consideration will be the very issues that you are trying to enforce upon us. More specifically, we would like to debate 1, the legality of peaceful protests, 2, the legality and morality of lockdown measures, and this is pretty obviously. Well, what are we getting at here? Well, if you debate this, you do not have a leg to stand on saying that these protests are not legal. 2, they don't have a legal or a moral case for locking down the government, locking down everything. And number 3, the legality of Governor Little's emergency orders. This man is such a criminal. Did you guys see last week where he is requesting that the legislature postpone the legislative session or make it virtual so he can maintain his power and control? And my good friend Bob Neugebauer from the Idaho Tea Party sent me last week the proof, and I've got it, and I shared it with Ammon. We'll have to share it with you guys another time. There's just never enough time to get all this information to everybody. But everybody thinks that we got $1.2 billion from the federal government in Idaho. That's what everybody thinks. That's what I thought. But the truth is, it's $8.1 billion that Idaho has received from the federal government. And several billion of those dollars are going straight to the medical establishment. All in the name of COVID. Which is why, and who is it who's on the board over there at Central District Health? And who does he work for? St. Luke's Health System. Because if they had to make money right now through the private insurance system, guess what they've done through all this mess? They've driven away their normal everyday bread and butter customers. Means they are going to sink if they don't get free money from the government, which is what IACI is all about in the first place. IACI, the biggest lobbying group here in Idaho, they mainly support the medical establishment getting government money and pouring it into their coffers. So we challenged it. We went on, and I won't read the rest of this, you can read it later, but we went on to challenge them very specifically. Why? Because they claimed that you should do it, you should have your civil unrest and blah, blah, blah in your Discord in a peaceful and appropriate manner. So we're saying, okay, that's what you're saying with you. Let's do it then. Let's debate peaceful, and we even offered to pay for all the equipment to set it up, to live stream it across the entire state. And then we said this: if you reject our offer to debate, then you must at least give us an explanation as to why. You have signed your names to a statement claiming that political expression must be exercised civilly and in a proper setting, and that we should never resort to anything other than expressing our opinions and passionately debating the issues. So we are offering you, the current leaders of the Idaho political establishment, the opportunity to peaceably debate these issues that are causing statewide protests in a public forum and in a proper setting. Now, you can read the rest of it. It's posted on our website. Most of you have already read it. But here's the point. Obviously, we know they're never going to debate us. We never thought for a minute they would. But man, that would be cool if they did, wouldn't it? yeah, I'll be something. And I'm hoping that they will. And we're going to encourage everybody in this room, for you and your friends, to contact all these guys. Blow up their emails and their phones and say, debate Ammon Bundy and Diego Rodriguez. Debate them. Go out there and do this. If not, shame on you. You are accountable to us, not the other way around. We know they're targeting these groups. We know they're targeting us, and they're the ones claiming that we're the leaders of these protests, when it's not necessarily the case. So if that's the case, and if that's true, and that's what you're claiming, then let's talk about it. Let's see who's right and let's see who's wrong. Good question.
Why can't we put that on the news so it's...
We're going to try very hard, but do you think it will get there? Right? Which is why the pressure has to come from the bottom up and not the top down.
Why don't we pressure the media?
Go for it. That's what I'm asking you to do. Do it. This is why this is available as a download off of our website. This is why we even have pictures of the envelopes that we sent to them, so they can't claim that they never got them. We send them a certified letter, and we have all the receipts for every single one of them. People have already been contacting them. We have some of their private cell phone numbers that I've been in contact with them, and they've been ignoring me now. Quick question. Yeah, and that's all on there. I'm supposed to be talking about COVID vaccines. So I just wanted to put this out there really, really quick, because we'll go down a rabbit trail, and I'm done with that. But I just want to encourage everybody here, help us, do your part, and put pressure on them. Because at the end of the day, why are we doing this? To expose them. Politicians will always be corrupt. Remember, they have the greater sin. So you can get mad at the cops, but why don't we go to the root? Let's go to the root. Because the cops are being threatened. They're in a hard place. I agree that they ought to make the right decision. But they're the ones being told they have to do this. And at the end of the day, no matter what anybody says, I don't care whose opinion comes on this one, people make decisions based on their pocketbook. It's what happens at the end of the day. And that's where we're at with all this. Okay, so we're done with that. We can talk about that more another time. I need to get on and talk about these COVID vaccines, because it started this week. All right? Now, I've got some, before I get started, I gotta warn you, you're not gonna like what I have to share with you today. I do believe that you will be appreciative of the facts and knowing what's going on, but you're not gonna like what I have to share with you today. I will be brief, because there is a tremendous amount of content to go through, so I will be as brief as possible. I think they can see without the, can you guys see without that, with the light on? So go ahead and turn the light back on. If I get to a part, there's a video I will play at the end where I will turn it back on. Again, terrible things happen to folks when you are willingly ignorant of things. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Just stick the needle in my arm and don't tell me anymore. I don't want to know. But I believe we got to operate by this principle right here. Don't believe everything you hear, but try the spirits. And in 1 Thessalonians it says to prove all things. So you need to prove all those things and hold fast to that which is good. So for months, you and I have been told that the COVID vaccine, which didn't even exist yet, it's safe and effective. It's safe. How can you tell me something's safe and effective when it doesn't even exist yet? It's absolutely ridiculous. The amount of media attention and the true conspiracy, and that I just mean people all working together with the same. We already talked 2 weeks ago, was it, about the power of controlled information? How they're all controlling the same information to give you the same message to control people. Yeah. And the way they've been doing this with vaccine is literally unparalleled. Like nothing you've ever seen before. If you just type into Google, is the COVID vaccine safe? It doesn't even give you an article. This right here comes up within Google telling you, oh yes, the vaccine which offers up to 95% protection against COVID-19 was deemed safe and effective by the FDA. And these are not even, this right here is not even links in their regular search results. This is like, you know, where Google is taking all this information and they're giving you special results. This is a COVID-19 alert you can see right up there. And so Google's making sure you know that it's safe. Here's from the New York Times. The coronavirus vaccine is safe and 95% effective. Here we get the Moderna one. Effectiveness and safety of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine confirmed. The path for expected authorization this week Here's NBC. Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine safe and effective after 1 dose. It's safe and effective, and look, you guys have seen it and heard it for months. Yet it was barely approved and barely rolled out here in the last week. Now, a couple things to note. When people talk about the vaccine, there is not a the. There's multiple vaccines from multiple companies, etc. The one that was released this week was from Pfizer. But there are at least 3 right now that are currently in development and already been released. The first one is Moderna's messenger RNA vaccine. The second one is from the Shenzhen, which is a Chinese company, Genoimmune company. And that's the dendritic cell vaccine. That's the one I want. I'll take the Chinese one, man. Because if anybody knows what the original one was made out of, it's those guys. Bad joke, I know, bad joke.
Good joke.
So, then of course there's Pfizer's, which is called BNT162b2.
What number?
And no, that is not a Star Wars character, that is, actually, it sounds like that would be something come on the next Star Wars. I'm here with the R2-D2, C-3PO, and BNT162b2. Oh, that's the actual vaccine. This is one that they've been injecting people with starting this week. Now, what you guys need to know is this. No real data has been published about this vaccine until last week. Hey, you know what? This is messed up. This is supposed to be, whatever. It's mirroring my screen instead of letting me see the next slide. Whatever. It wasn't until this week. So here's the point. Very, very, very little has been published about the vaccine, so nobody really knows. Literally everything you've been hearing for months and months and months is just lying propaganda. And for anybody to say otherwise, they're being completely dishonest and disingenuous with you. Because how can you tell me something's safe in vaccine when there's no published data and nobody knows? You are just propagandist scum. That's all you are. Now, here's an interesting thing. The U.S. government's public repository with clinical trial data for all drugs and vaccines, which is something that's publicly available on the internet at all times, it does not publish current detailed results for the COVID vaccine candidates. So there's nothing there as well. And on Moderna's website, this is really, really funny. They have a page on their website dedicated to the data from their vaccine trial. And when you go there, all that you get is all this bombastic drivel about how they have diversity and inclusion in their vaccine trial. Here's the actual graphic. It's a vaccine for everybody. African Americans participated. Males participated. Females. Those other genders that we invented this last year, they all participated. Old people, young people, Hispanic people too. We included everybody. They're all there. And on this page, it's supposed to be dedicated to data from their vaccine study. Guess what you will not find? Any data. There's no data. Nothing at all. It's all a scam. Until a week ago. 1 week ago, Pfizer finally came out with a report called the Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, published on December 10th. What's today, the 17th?
Yep.
The 18th. Exactly 1 week ago. I have it right here in my never-before nicotine-stained hands, right? Okay. So there's a little throw out to my man Rush for you. This is a 56-page report, and anybody who wants to see it, you can see it. We're posting it on our website, so you can download it. And it's just a bunch of data, and it's really, really hard to read through. I mean, it's just got reports. It's all medical terminology. It doesn't read like a novel, obviously. It's just a bunch of medical terminology talking about the study. So it's very hard to get through. But someone had to get through it. And we've done that for you. And here's the thing. You are going to be hearing all types of headlines about what came out in this report. But like everything, the devil's in the details. And when you get into what the report actually says, you are going to see how they spin the data in a way that's most favorable to them. Remarkably, I can tell you as someone who's gone through the report, hold on one quick second, I can't believe they even published this. Because if you do get into it and break it down, the data is really damning. But they're going to spin it in their favor, and I'll show you exactly how.
Isn't Pfizer the one selling this? But then they did their own report.
Oh, that's a remarkable thing. Who would have thought? He makes a very good point. He says, isn't it Pfizer, they're the one selling this, another one doing their own report? Yeah, they paid for it, they sponsored it, it's their report. So it's obviously going to be spun in their favor. And I'll make a point about that, and I'll just make it right now. I have been accused of being anti-vax, and I have no problem with that. Call me anti-vax all you want, that does not bother me. However, I'm not actually anti-vax. And the reason why I'm not actually anti-vax is because I'm not anti-food. And I'm also not, anti-fathers. And I'm also not, anti-cop. And I can go down the line. You probably get it already. I'm not anti-food, but I'm anti-poison. And if all the food that's being given is poison, then I'm going to oppose all of it, and then you're going to call me anti-food.
Call you skinny.
Many of you guys know that I was a pastor for 10 years in an inner city church in Central California. And I've put many, at least over a dozen fathers behind bars for abuse and molestation. I had to put them there. So does that mean I'm against fathers? You don't like fathers because you keep throwing them in jail. Yeah, because they're abusive, you idiot. But I'm also intelligent enough to discern that because one father is abusive, it doesn't make all fathers abusive.
Right.
But I'm also intelligent to know that there is a pattern that an abusive father follows. And you can see that pattern and red flags. And there's abusive cops. And there's abusive law enforcement. But just because one is abusive, it doesn't make them all abusive. Learn discernment, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very simple. Now, I'm not against medicine, and I'm not against vaccine for this simple vaccines in principle, because conceptually, the medical concept of a vaccine is sound. And if you go back to 100 years ago, or whenever the first vaccine was invented, it had like 2 or 3 ingredients, and none of them were poisonous. And now these vaccines have 70 plus ingredients. They don't want to let you know what they are, and the ones that we do know are mostly poisonous. So in the modern day context, yeah, I'm pretty much anti-vax because it's all garbage. And here's why. Anybody here a contractor? We got a couple of contractors in here? If you built a house, and then you built the house using poor standards and not using any engineering standards to ensure the structural integrity of that house, and then it falls down on a family and kills all of them, are you going to be held accountable for that? Absolutely! Which gives you an incentive to what? Build it right! But the government came out here and said, hey, guess what? You can build homes, and you don't have to follow any standards, and no matter how many people those houses fall on and it kills them, we'll protect you, we'll cover you, you won't owe a dime, you get to stay in business, and the government will pay for all the damages for you. Now what are you going to do? Now you say, well, I'm an honest man, I still do it right. I don't care, I'm not talking about you personally. I'm talking about fallen human nature. What are humans going to do? You are going to build everything to the lowest standards possible with the cheapest equipment possible, with the cheapest materials possible to increase your profits and throw it all on the government and say, I don't care. Now guess what? All medicines and all manufacturers of medicines and every single industry on planet Earth that have the potential to harm you as a person, they can all be held financially accountable for any harm they cause you. Every industry, every company on God's green earth, with one exception. Vaccine manufacturers. Now, remarkably, Pfizer is held accountable for the other medicines that it makes and creates that are not vaccines. So if they create a medicine, you take that medicine, they can show that it gave you cancer, there could be a class action lawsuit against them. We would all collectively own Pfizer. So they're very careful. But when it comes to vaccines, you can't do or say anything about it. They can create whatever the heck they want, and it can hurt you and damage you all day long, create all types of secondary consequences, and it does not matter because there's no consequences for them whatsoever. There's no repercussions. And furthermore, if damages are held, it's the government who pays us off. It's disgusting, which exactly is right. That means you and I, the taxpayers, are paying for it. So, You've got to just use your brain and ask yourself, and that's been since 1986 that happened. It was a bill that was signed into law that unfortunately the great Ronaldus Magnus signed into law. It was, in my mistake, it was the greatest flaw of his presidential career. Because people aren't perfect. You guys know I'm a huge Trump supporter. I completely am disgusted with Trump by the way he handled the COVID situation. But that doesn't mean that I don't like Trump. But he completely bombed in my opinion, on this whole situation. In fact, all this is getting rammed through because of Operation Warp Speed that he himself spearheaded, okay? Now, this report came out today. A week ago. And the information in it is very, very damning. But let me give you some details of the study so you don't have to go through 56 pages of a bunch of medical jargon. I'm gonna break it down very simple for you, all right? 20,000 people in this study got the vaccine. Pretty incredible. So this is a big study. 20,000 people got a placebo. So it's a very large group of people, and they come from every genetic background and every size, shape, and color. This was a legit study. When I went through this, I was like, whoa. So they weren't messing around. This is a true scientific study. They came from all different types of genetic compositions and backgrounds, and the rules and protocols were completely uniform across the entire experiment. Assuming that what's in this report is true, this is the case, and this is exactly what you want in a real science experiment. So you look at this, you're like, okay, it's not like 10 people here and 10 people there, and they select exactly. This is a legit study. So starting there from the beginning, you're like, okay, this is legit. Now let's see what happened to these people who went through it. Of the 20,000 people who got the vaccine, only 8 of them ended up acquiring COVID-19. So that's pretty remarkable. Listen very carefully. This is what you're going to hear over and over and over and over again. The statistics, I got the numbers, I believe it's 0.004%. So if you get the vaccine, then only 0.004% of the people are going to actually get COVID because we did this study. And this is all you're going to hear over and over and over again. And it appears that that's what the data is.
So they didn't have it before, but they got it after.
Sure, yep. Well, I mean, any group of people are going to get this disease at any point in time, right? You're going to get the flu, you're going to get a cold, whatever. This is the way a study is done. And those are great numbers, assuming that you're reading the data accurately. Let me keep going and you're going to see how sinister this becomes because this is all you're going to hear. And it's in there. However, quote, a higher proportion of vaccine recipients reported adverse events compared with placebo recipients. I can't believe they published it. It's in their own report. It's going to get worse. These adverse events among the vaccine recipients include Bell's palsy. Who knows what Bell's palsy is? My mom had Bell's palsy. When she got it, it freaked me out. What Bell's palsy is, it typically comes from ticks or some type of a bug bite or something like that. It's when half of your face becomes paralyzed and you no longer have function on one side of your face, meaning one side of your face will droop, one eye will either stay permanently open or permanently shut because you no longer have control of one half of your face. The other thing is something that is called lymphadenopathy. And lymphadenopathy is basically a disorder where your lymph nodes swell up so they are physically enlarged and you can see them. Here's what, you can hit that light really quick. Here's what Bell's palsy looks like on people's face. And these people are not making funny faces trying to look funny and trying to tell a joke. This is what it looks like if someone with Bell's palsy tries to smile. One half of their face, they no longer have any function over it. And this is what they look like. Lymphadenopathy, here's a big giant swollen lymph node, and you can see that this swollen lymph node, what it is, it raises the specter of serious illness such as lymphoma, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, or metastatic cancer. This is what they published in their own report. You're not going to hear it, but it's in the report. You can hit the light again. Now, additionally, from these 20,000 people who received this vaccine, a majority of the 20,000 of them acquired the following symptoms: fatigue, headache, nausea, fever, and chills. Sounds like COVID-19. Now, here's the point I wanted to make. How do they determine who acquires COVID-19 but by their faulty testing that they use that they can adjust in order to make it fit whatever data they want to fit? Let me give you the layman's version of how to tell if you have COVID-19 or not. Are you ready? This is from a guy who doesn't have a medical degree, and you can tell me who you want to believe. The guys who've been lying to you, or common sense. Here's the Diego version of how you can tell you have COVID-19 or not. Are you ready? Do you have symptoms? If you got symptoms, you got it. If you don't, you don't. Oh, you could be an asymptomatic carrier, Diego. You're going to kill grandma that way.
Yes!
This is the crap they're telling you. So remember, they're telling you that only 8 people got COVID, and then they say, oh, but the vast majority of them all got COVID symptoms. Okay? Now there's also an entire section in the report where they include in there the fact that we don't know a whole lot about the vaccine, including whether or not it even is going to be effective beyond 2 months or not. And here's the point. The FDA approved, gave them the approval for the emergency use authorization, and now they can use it. And if anything bad happens to you, they're completely off the hook. And apparently, because of the emergency use authorization that was written in there, they're off the hook and the government's off the hook. You're just screwed. Just so you know. Now here's where it gets fun, and this is the part where I told Ammon the other day, I said, bro, you can't make this stuff up. I can't believe it's published. But it is. I downloaded a copy in case they start changing it in the future. Here's the 20,000 placebo recipients. Y'all ready? Here we go. Out of the 20,000 people who didn't get the vaccine, but they got a placebo, 162 of them expressed symptoms of acute respiratory illness, blah, 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 COVID-19. So they tested positive for COVID-19. And out of those 162, only 3 of them had severe COVID. Now, let me break this down on a chart so you can see what's really going on, all right? Here's what they're going to be telling you. They're going to tell you 20,000 people got the vaccine, 20,000 got the placebo. 8 who took the vaccine got COVID, and 162 over here got COVID-19. So we have a 0.04% rate or a 0.8%. Oh, and they're going to tell you, no, it's whatever the math is. 20 times higher. You're 20 times more likely to get COVID if you do not get the vaccine. This is all they're going to tell you over and over and over and over again in the news. So many times that you're finally going to believe it. But it's not true, and here's what the truth actually is. Are you ready? In their own report that you can download yourself off of their website, or we have it saved on our website that you can download as well, because they might change it. 20,000 people got the vaccine, 20,000 got the placebo. How many people got COVID symptoms over here? Over 12,400 of them got symptoms, and 168 got symptoms over here. When you dig deeper, they won't tell you the exact number, but they give you a percentage. This is why we have 12,400 plus, because it was a percentage of 20,000, but they wouldn't give you the exact number. So that's who had COVID symptoms, but then it goes further to talk about severe symptoms, and severe symptoms was not just like, well, Ammon says he feels bad, but Miranda says she feels real bad. Okay, that's severe. No, they had an actual scientific way of determining it by the amount of oxygen saturation they had in their blood when they were tested. So it was an actual metric that was actually scientifically determined and uniform across the study, which is impressive. They were doing real science, and that's good. So, how many people do you want to imagine got severe COVID symptoms who got the vaccine? Over 920 of them. And only 3 got it who got the placebo. Why is that? It's because they're going to tout the number 8. Only 8 tested positive for COVID. Only 8 tested positive for COVID. 920 had severe COVID symptoms, but they didn't test positive.
Because they took the vaccine.
Sounds
You see?
like Common Core to me.
Hello. Yeah, I know. Common Core math. That's exactly right. It's unbelievable. These are the true numbers, ladies and gentlemen. These are the true numbers. Furthermore, did people get Bell's palsy who got the vaccine? Yes. Did anybody at all get Bell's palsy who got the placebo? No. Did people get lymphadenopathy? Yes. Did anybody get the placebo get it? No. This is the chart that is data pulled straight from this report. You can download it and read it for yourself if you want to bore yourself to death. Oh, so he's asked me to explain the placebo. So for those who don't know what a placebo is, here's how it works when you do a scientific study, a double-blind placebo, blah, blah, blah. A placebo is when they tell you that they're giving you a medicine, but you're not actually getting it. Okay? It could be something like, water or something like that. Typically when it's a pill, like they're giving you a Tic Tac and they're giving somebody else an actual medicine. So in this case, and the reason to do that is to see if your own mind and your own body, your own belief system causes you, because you thought you're getting it, to get any better. So what that means is the people who got the placebo got nothing. And the people who got the vaccine got a vaccine. This is why it's called a placebo. So 40,000 people thought they got the vaccine, but half of them didn't. And that group, and they're tracking, so the people doing the scientific study are tracking who's who. Of the people who got the placebo, only 3 of them got severe COVID symptoms, and nobody had any secondary adverse side effects.
It would have been nice if they told us how many people actually had the COVID and then said how the placebo actually got healed.
Yeah, but again, at the end of the day, I have major problems with the whole how many people actually have COVID, because how does anybody know? The only way to truly determine it, just like anything else, you guys understand that right now inside of every single one of your body is this giant petri dish full of every disease and infection imaginable? You all have it all right now at all times. And this is literally 6th grade biology. This is elementary biology. We're loaded with bacteria, we're loaded with viruses 24/7, and your immune system fights it all off. If your immune system is weakened based on your environment, based on what you eat, based on overloading yourself with sugar, based on not sleeping enough, based on all whatever, then your immune system is weakened, and you are therefore not able to fight off those viruses and bacteria or whatever else it is, and then the virus takes over, and you manifest symptoms. So this whole business about being an asymptomatic carrier, 100% of humanity is an asymptomatic carrier 24/7 of some disease, some virus, some bacteria, some germ. Do you guys understand that? Yes. It's literally elementary biology. So quit buying into all this crap that they're telling you on the news. Quick question.
Any recorded deaths?
Yes. He said, are there any recorded deaths? The answer to that question, yes, there were recorded deaths. However, the recorded deaths were plainly having nothing. This is the remarkable thing. This is so funny to me. Let me show you a news report here in a minute. The recorded deaths plainly had nothing to do with either the placebo or vaccine or whatsoever, because you have 40,000 people over the course of months. Somebody's going to die just for whatever reason. And there's specific, like one guy died of a stroke and somebody else died of, what other comorbidities they had and stuff like that. But because you mentioned it, it's going to take me right to my next slide, which is a CNN that came out. And CNN literally said this. Don't tell me it's not propaganda trying to groom your mind. Because they literally said this. Don't be alarmed if people start dying after taking the vaccine. Because when people die after taking the vaccine, it won't necessarily have anything to do with the vaccine. Now, isn't this funny? When people die of a heart attack for the last 9 months, they said, oh, it was a COVID that caused the heart attack. When someone dies of a stroke, they say, oh, it was COVID that caused the stroke. If they die of lung disease, kidney disease, liver disease, AIDS, cancer, stroke, anything imaginable, it was COVID that did it. Because it happened during the same time frame, they say, so it was COVID that did it. But if somebody dies just, a day or two after getting a vaccine, it was just natural causes, that had nothing to do with the vaccine. Imagine the inconsistency and the blatant hypocrisy of these idiots. Well, who's a bigger idiot, the people reporting or the people who keep turning it back on to consume it? Tell me more lies, please. Please, oh, I just love this. Give me 2 for good luck. Give me 3. How many did they say? 2? Hey, if 2's good, 4 is better, right? Come on. Do this side, 1 in each cheek. Come on, give me stabbed everywhere, baby. I mean, it's ridiculous the way people think. This is a real news report. Look it up yourself. The New York Times here reports 2 Alaska health workers got emergency treatment after they received Pfizer's vaccine. There was also reactions reported in Britain. I don't have this news article, wasn't able to find it in time before we got here, but there was, and you guys just Google it yourself, up in New York, I believe it was, there was some Catholic priest who was all excited to be part of the COVID vaccine and to be part of the test, and he felt, you know, this new pope is a total socialist, and so he's turning all of these priests into socialists, not to mention the other things that they do, but anyhow, he died within 2 or 3 days of getting the vaccine. He just dropped dead. I heard that. So, I heard that before you said it, which is why I'm laughing. Here's a note, CNBC. I can't believe they published it, but again, just take a look at this, guys. Here's the headline. You can't sue Pfizer or Moderna if you have severe COVID vaccine side effects. The government likely won't compensate you for damages either.
Right.
So you go there and you get paralysis, half your face, you get Bell's palsy, or you lose motor function or something like that. You can't work. That's it. You're hosed. You did it. You did it. And remember, these are the vaccines that in short order they're going to tell you you have to have before you can leave your house.
Go to work.
But it doesn't matter because you got ARs in the safe, so everything's cool. You'll never use one, but you got them. Yeah, so you feel tough. One last thing I'm going to share with you before we wrap this up. I gave you all the data. Cool? And we tried to break down as simple as possible a 56-page report and make it real simple for you so that you guys are inoculated against the lies of the media you're going to hear nonstop about this Pfizer vaccine. Now that I've left all the facts are done. Now let's get into conspiracy theory for a minute, okay? And here's why. This gets really complicated to find information about things. I mean, it's like this. How many of you guys know Ammon personally and know the type of person he is and know his story and stuff like that? But Google Ammon Bundy. Don't do it. You shouldn't do it. How many factual articles have you ever found about Ammon Bundy? It's impossible to find. So you know after the fact when there is a political agenda. Now they say we have an agenda. They say I do have an agenda for my PAC. You know that I'm the founders of the Freedom Man Political Action Committee, and I have an agenda for my PAC. Anybody want to know what my agenda is? My agenda is to one day shut it down and never open it ever again because it's no longer necessary. That's my ultimate goal. My greatest hope and aspiration is that I can shut Freedom Man PAC down and never open it again, because that means there's no more political corruption. It means there's no more ignorance to laws and rights. It means there's no more infringement upon people's rights. And when that day comes, I can't wait to shut it down. Good luck. I just don't really have a lot of faith that that's going to happen in my lifetime. But that is my true political agenda. Now that being said, it's really hard to verify some of these details I'm going to share with you right now. Hold on one quick second, brother, because I want to wrap this up. So I'm going to put it in the realm of conspiracy just to please all those out there who say, you haven't verified that, because I am very big on verifying everything before I present it. This was an article published on what was the guy's name? Hal Harper or something like that? I can't remember his name. He's a news reporter, he's a journalist, and he's the very first American under the Obama administration to go to prison for writing an op-ed piece and publishing it against President Obama. No. I can't remember his name. I'll get it here a little bit later, but this is from his website. And this is actually all over the internet. It's been scrubbed off of Google. You search Google, it won't come up there, but if you search DuckDuckGo, it'll come up there. Here's a quote from someone who says, "They've killed God. I can't feel God. My soul is dead." And this was somebody who took the AstraZeneca vaccine trial, which is another company altogether. Once this came out, it caused to resurface an old conspiracy theory from the early 2000s that I will summarize for you and then show you a video, and then I'll leave it up to you to make your own conclusions. In short, there was a conspiracy theory that in the mid-2000s, the government under President George W. Bush was experimenting with a serum that attacked the VMAT2 gene, which is the one called the God gene, and the center of your brain that is responsible for your spirituality and your God consciousness. You know that your brain has physical areas, like one part that's responsible for taste and one part is responsible for social interaction, blah, blah, blah. And if you get in a car accident and get brain damage and it damages a part that controls social interaction, you might start acting like a sociopath because that part of your brain is damaged, and on and on. So they found a part of your brain that they believe to be the part that is your center of spirituality and God consciousness. And they determined that this through MRI readings, where they would see that part of the brain light up after either a spiritual experience or reading a religious text or whatnot. And this gene is a gene they've determined called the VMAT2 gene, which is the gene that is part of our DNA and our makeup that also makes us aware and conscious of God and spiritual things. And they determined in the mid-2000s that if they could create a serum that destroyed the VMAT2 gene and attacked that area of your brain, that they could eliminate religious fundamentalism. And all they need to do is figure out how to inject this thing into a bunch of Muslim Islamic radicals, and they could have world peace. And it was determined that they would do so by going into these Islamic fundamentalist communities and offering them a free vaccine to keep them from dying. And of course, it would simply be this serum to destroy the VMAT2 gene. Allegedly, this was a vaccine called the FunVax, or the Religious Fundamentalism Vaccine. And it was a secret project by the Department of Defense, and a guy got a hold of it who was in the Department of Defense, and he released all the information and made it public as a whistleblower. And they went after him and built some charges against him. Ammon knows this better than anybody, and threw him in jail, and he's in jail to this day. Allegedly. You can't verify it. I tried. However, what can be verified is this. It is true that there was a secret government presentation in regards to this very serum/vaccine that was leaked when whoever the leaker was leaked it. And he published it online. And it's out there. And the video is real. That part is true. Whether the story of whether the guy went to jail or not, I don't know if that's true. The guy's name, I can't verify that either. What we can verify, and which has never been debunked, is that the Department of Defense was working on this, and a video with the top brass in the Pentagon discussing this with the lead researcher was leaked online, and I've got a copy of it, and I'm going to play the 5-minute portion of it for you right now, so you can hear exactly and see for yourself what these people are doing. And just note, if it is true, if the video you're going to see from 2005, which they're discussing a serum/vaccine to inject into people to destroy their center of spirituality and God consciousness, if that is true, how odd or how strange is this? And I'm going to make one last point before I play the video, and I'll get your question right here, brother.
Can I go before the video?
Yeah. Go right now.
So listen closely, because one of the generals asks him, how do you plan to distribute it? Are you going to aerosol it through the air? They were just going to spray it over the entire Middle East.
And the answer was no, it's through a vaccine. They're going to do the vaccine. You're going to see it right here in just a second. Now, the other thing I want you to note is this, a quick question I have for you guys, and that is, what are the 2 greatest obstacles to total and complete government tyranny? The first one is guns. Does anybody know what the second one is? Faith. Faith. For many of us, it's faith is stronger than guns. For some, it's the other way around. It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, those are the 2 great obstacles, which is why communism thrives through atheism. It fills the vacuum. If God is not God, government's God. And this is why you do not have communism anywhere other than where they first implanted atheism. You cannot have communism without eliminating God as your number one obstacle. So hey, we got people lining up to get us, stick them in the arm. Hey, hey, hey. Let me play the video for you, and that's it. I will be done. Oh yeah, here's just information about the VMAT2 gene, etc. All right. But same thing, everything I just told you right now. So, Joey Lombardi was the alleged leaker, set up on false charges, imprisoned. I can't find information to verify any of that stuff, but the leaked video still exists, and here it is. Now, just so you can see for yourself, this video is from April of 2005.
Who's the lead researcher?
That's Gates.
It's not Bill Gates.
Looks like it.
It not only looks like him, but it sounds like him, but it's not.
And this is the expression.
Let me back it up.
That sounds exactly like.
It's not Bill Gates, I guarantee it.
Excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics. And this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior.
By vaccinating them against
so we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
You're suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether to put a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that will have major effects in the Middle East. Well, so the present
He just said right there, how do you suggest we do
we've done
this through
so
aerosol?
far have used respiratory viruses such as flu or
They use a respiratory
rhinoviruses,
virus
and
or a
we believe
coronavirus.
that's a satisfactory way to get the exposure of the largest part of the population. Most of us, of course, have been exposed to both of those viruses. And and we're quite confident that this will be a very successful approach.
This is fascinating. What's the name of this proposal?
Yeah, so the name of this project is FunVax, which is the vaccine for religious fundamentalism.
And you have a proposal already?
The proposal has just been submitted, and I think that the data that I have shown you today would support the development of this project, and we think it has great promise.
I'll leave it at that. You guys can come to your own conclusions. Let's turn it back over to my man, Amber.
Make no mistake about it, that is a sales pitch. And those possible buyers are very interested in it. Oh, yeah. And the buyers happen to be those in the Pentagon.
Do we know who the people were in the meeting?
Well, no, but when you break it down, there are some in suits and there's also some in military uniforms. No, but there are some in suits and there's some in military uniforms. So, and I think it has been confirmed that that is in the Pentagon.
That's in the Pentagon,
Yes.
and it's a legitimate video that's legitimately leaked.
Yes.
Is it on your webpage?
Yes.
It's still on YouTube.
All right. So,
Remarkably, that video is on YouTube.
I try not to watch YouTube if I don't have to.
so and remember how Diego started before he showed that video, which was with that headline of an individual who was a vaccine test recipient or participant, and he said that they have killed God, that he could not feel him anymore. Which is exactly what were trying to accomplish or sell to the military. That's exactly what he said he could do. So,
But not only that, they also said that they would disperse it by calling it a vaccine that people would use for immunity.
For flu or coronavirus or other, and he even said that they believed that it would be highly effective. So, what's the word? Effective? Safe and effective.
To turn you into a normal person.
All right. So, we're going to get moving on some work here. We came here to work. We've done a lot of work already. And if you remember, we did some work last week. And we need to continue to do that. Because I believe, and I think most people here would probably agree with me, that the only way to make sure the wicked do not hurt the good is for the wicked to fear the good.
Yeah.
And I realize that
This will be in the Idaho Press tomorrow.
that's great, good. Know that I'm serious.
Good deal.
And I hope they do. Again, we're not going to stand around and be really nice and patty cake with everybody and put any fear in the wicked. We're not. We must be prepared. And I also believe, as we said last week, and if I'm out of order, you can put me back in place. But I do not believe that force or violence should ever be used in offense.
I agree.
But I believe that it is our duty to use it in defense.
Likewise, agree. Amen, brother.
And so, and you cannot do that without being prepared. There is, and I didn't make the rules. Diego didn't make the rules. None of us made the rules, right? Whatever reason we're in this world that God has created that is also a challenge to live in, right? Yeah. And whoever unites the most has the power to control. I didn't make the rules. And so if the wicked unite faster than the righteous, then the wicked have the ability to overpower the righteous. It is. Now, however, there's something that is very beautiful And we see it happen many, many times, especially we read in the Bible, the Old Testament, mostly the scriptures have it, where when the righteous people, the good people, trying to do what is right, I'm not saying we're perfect, not saying, but trying to do what is right. And when they stand in defense, then the Lord gives them the advantage to prevail, to preserve their liberty. And so we are here today to start to discuss that. Last week we did, and this week we are going to continue. So and this is a discussion that we could have. We talked about last week about having small units, right? Starting to organize into small units, into your neighborhood units. We need to name that unit, whatever it is, because we need to automatically know what it is when we say it. Okay? And so I'm going to throw some ideas out there. We're not going to decide today, right? But what we're going to do is get everybody's, and then we're going to pick one, and you can email it if you want to info@peoplesrights.org, your ideas, or you tell your area assistants, and the area assistants can pass it along. So I believe like the 3%ers use what's called an LGOT. Am I correct with that?
Yep.
Which is little group of people. Okay? I don't like it because it's the GOP right there. And the GOP doesn't like us anymore. But I think that's great because automatically when you hear LGOT, you know what they know what it is. Now, but I'm going to suggest, or I'm going to throw out a couple things again, just kind of get your thoughts going. What about something like SGON, which is small group of neighbors? Okay, or this one I like, but I don't. Noid. And I'm just throwing this out there. We're not neighbors organized in defense. Okay?
The Noid.
Noid. Okay? What about, anyway, you get where I'm going, okay? You get where I'm going. We can have fun with it. Domino's Pizza, I really love it. I think that's where the Noid comes from, right? Anyway, we have to somehow identify these small group of neighbors that are active in defense. Okay? That is something we need to do. We need to come up with a name, acronym, or whatever it is. So now, with this being said, you kind of have an idea, right? What you need to do. You kind of use, right? Hey, it looks like that guy at Walmart.
It actually is.
Okay, so we need to name it small units. We'll just say that for now. We need to name them. Secondly, we need to form them. Okay? And I'm telling you, we need to form them now. Like, you need to go home and you need to start forming these small units. We'll name them later. Just like having a baby, right? Form it and then name it later, right? So let's get them going. It is important. Annoyed, yeah. Being annoyed. We can annoyed, yeah. Well, there's one I was working on that was noise, which is neighbors organizing in self and then defense. No, anyway, we were kind of going there. Right? Anyway, it's self-expression. There you go.
American neighbors.
But we'll come up with some name as a people, and that will be what it is throughout people's rights. Right? We'll be communicating that way, but we need to organize them. Organize them. And this is not going to be done by people's rights. This is not going to be done by the area assistants. Right? This is going to be done by neighborhoods, my neighbors, right? You're going to find in your neighborhood those who you trust, those who you believe that you can depend upon when needed. That's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, man, I live in Bundy, what am I, or in Boise, what am I gonna do?
What's that?
I live in Boise, what am I gonna do?
What do you mean? How many million people live there? Almost 1 million people live there.
I live in the north, come on.
Hey, there's no excuses here, okay? There's no excuses. And remember, this is a checkbox for you, right? This is a checkbox for you. This is what you need to be doing right now. You need to be finding who you believe that you can depend on to go in these small units of people in your neighborhood to defend. Right? There was a question back there?
No, I just had an idea. Essential services caring about people.
Okay, what was it?
Essential services caring about people.
Okay, give that to your area assistant, and then they'll send it on to us, or go to info@peoplesrights.org and send it. Yes?
We're always trying to fight for the door for access to these open meetings, so what about door, which is dead of rattlesnakes, like you started with earlier?
Yes. Yeah.
So it would be your DOR, your door, would be your den of rattlesnakes.
No, that's.
Den of rattlesnakes.
I like that.
His name is.
I got a good name.
Okay, keep, okay, yeah.
I got a good name for one.
All right.
Triple S.
Triple S? Oh,
Oh, boy. I don't know about that,
put one more on it, you can't fly.
That's how good his name.
I was on the SSS.
Recording faster.
That's right, that's what mine did. Years and years. Okay, send those in. So we need to organize these things.
How big?
Okay, organize them. What else?
Somebody asked how large.
2 to 12 people.
7 years old.
7 optimal? Okay, 2 to 12 people, right? We talked about that last week. The whole world militarily is controlled by small groups of people. Yes, in the back.
Off subject, but did they postpone the meeting at the Central District Health for tomorrow at 8:30?
Anybody know that?
No, it's still on schedule, but there's no votes tomorrow, it's just administrative.
Yeah.
Administrative meeting.
Except they're talking about vaccines.
Okay. So,
8:30 a.m.
second is in these small groups of people, small units, right? Or whatever we decide, you need to work on how you're going to communicate. How, what, in multiple ways. How are you going to communicate? Are you going to communicate with whatever, radio, what's that? Yeah, but maybe there's 2 or 3 ways you need to communicate, right? Maybe there's 4 or 5. We talked about that last week. We're going to work on those things as a group, but there's nothing more important than doing it right here, right? In these small units, these small neighborhood units. You also need to get yourself geared up, right? So you need to get yourself geared up. You need to help each other get geared up. These are things that we need to do right now. And People's Rights are not going to do that for you. We're building a page where you can get tons of information of how to do it. And we hope to add to that, get it better and better, a little bit like we're doing with the ham. We get experts, they get adding information, and people that know a lot more than I do about it. Because I hope that I made it clear last week that I'm not the authority on this at all, and I never claimed to be the authority. I just feel like it was my duty to communicate it with you and to motivate you to begin to do these things. Okay? What else? Support. Remember when I called the less able? That the less able need to support those who are actually actively in these small units. So I got thinking about it, and I go, you know, that really was the wrong term, even though we're not trying to be politically correct here. But
physically able.
no, I think they're the able, right? They're able to support somebody.
Yep.
Right? They're able to support these maybe younger, if you will, maybe, you know, more healthy or whatever, individuals in the small unit. Maybe they're able to do other things in the small unit. But the fact of it is, if there was some reason why we had to activate these small units, right? Or they activated, because it would be more of a decision of themselves, right? They activated themselves. What if they've got, you know, like myself, I've got 6 children. I can't write in front of you. I've got 6 children. I got a beautiful wife. And, you know, I've got some bills. And I have to feed them. And if I'm off trying to defend my neighbors or them, I might not be able to do that. And it does become the responsibility of others to support them if they're benefiting from the defense, right? And so that needs to be established. Where is it going to be established? In these small units. It's not going to be established by people's rights, right? Not especially not at first. It's going to be you and your neighbors agreeing that this is what's going to happen, and if there was a reason why someone could take care of their children, their wife, their bills, and feed them, there needs to be a way that those people in your neighborhood, in the small groups or around, can do that.
I've seen it done.
Right? Yeah, I've seen it done. I've experienced it myself. I was incarcerated for 2 years. They destroyed my businesses. They tried to take everything from me. Right? They attacked my businesses. Actually went to my national account. They actually went to my bank and demanded that they no longer use my services. Right? I watched them try to destroy my life while I was incarcerated. But guess what? There wasn't one meal that my family starved. There wasn't one time, not one meal that my family didn't go without. Not one. Never once did my house payment even go late. Right? And I could go on and on and on. To the point where sometimes my wife had to say, "We don't need it." And she did that. "We don't need it. Thank you so much." Right? And that's the way we get through this. But we have an opportunity now to begin to help people understand that. To be able to organize in our neighborhoods, in our small units, to be able to help people understand that this is a probability that sometime within some period of time, that's maybe sooner, maybe later, that there's going to be a need for us to defend ourselves, and the need for our families, our children, our houses is not going to go away. We still have to eat. We still have to have a place to live. And figuring that out now is important. And I realize I'm being pretty general here. We'll get more specific as we go on. So if we could keep it to what I'm talking about right now, I want to open this up to thoughts, to maybe some insight from those who know, and just some reality here. But let's keep it within the scope of these small units. Let's not talk about a name right now because it's not important. But let's talk about organizing them, the communication within them, the gear that we need to equip, and the support, and anything else if I'm missing something, right? But let's keep it within the scope. Yes, we're back here.
So who are we talking about? Are these people's rights only people? Are these just a neighbor who is interested and vigilant? I understand that all 7 people need to kind of be on the board together, but it's not just people's rights members. If they're not
Absolutely.
interested in joining, getting the text, whatever.
Absolutely.
Can I answer that?
Yes, please do.
I shared this with you a little bit, and I don't know if Pastor Don's here tonight.
If you want, I could bring the mic, but, because there was a complaint. Yeah, just speak up loud, because I don't know how much time we can spend. Come up here. There were, the people on the live were complaining last meeting that they couldn't hear when people commented.
All right. So this is just beyond simple. It's God's way. I don't know how many of you have listened to Pastor Don, and he's very inspiring, as well as everyone that's talked tonight. Thank you, Diego. One statistic is that the death rate has actually gone down. So if you think you have a pandemic, wouldn't the death rate go up?
Right.
It's a scamdemic, so thank you. But Pastor Don shared, I don't know, 3 months ago, an inspiring sermon about uniting neighbors, right? Isn't that this? We're supposed to be able to unite neighbors. So none of our friends or neighbors at the time were part of People's Rights. But his sermon about getting right with your neighbors, love God with all thy heart and thy soul is the number 1 first commandment, and the second commandment is what? So that was his sermon, and it was strong and powerful, and my wife and I were inspired by it, but our pride made us drag our feet. We had just some, stupid little tiffs with our closest neighbor right behind us, a couple in their 40s, I guess, but dumb things, how dumb things can happen with, relationships, but just stupid stuff that didn't really mean anything, but we had some tiffs, and we thought, we need to go make this right. So we drug our feet for, a month or so, thinking we still need to do this, but our pride and even a little fear of how they'd receive us just made us hold up and not do that. Well, we went and we got the courage to do it, and it was so simple to go over there and knock on the door, to give them a little something, and share our appreciation for them. First of all, they have the American flag always flying. We appreciate their patriotism. And so we shared and found common ground, and God immediately blessed us. It was immediate that we were blessed, and that will happen. That was easy for us, and I'm not saying that can happen with you. The brother back here mentioned, do they have to be part of People's Rights? Heck no. They're your neighbors, and that's your small units that Hammond's talking about. So I challenge you to do that. If you have any disagreements, figure it out on your own. You got to follow the Spirit. There's the elements of just knowing, but then you got to follow the Spirit, like we shared tonight. So we were blessed immediately. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And remember what People's Rights is. People's Rights is a communication network, right? We are organized, but we are not a hierarchy. It is a network of people. And there's a whole bunch of people that are part of People's Rights that might not have necessarily text rights to 80123, or that have gone to peoplesrights.org and signed up. They may in the future, they may not. And in fact, a quick little story that happened to me today, I had a legislator that called me, and she wanted to just emphasize, because she has been traveling and sharing what's happening inside the state government with the terrible things that the House, Speaker of the House has been doing, Bedke, and the governor, and so she has been traveling and expressing that to people all over, and she called me specifically to let me know that what People's Rights has done in the state of Idaho is unprecedented. She has never seen the unity and the willingness to stand for rights ever before in her entire career. She expressed to me that there are many groups that that are not people's rights that are uniting because of the example of people's rights.
Yes.
Okay? And we don't care how they unite,
Yeah.
right? We just don't care. We're just glad they're doing it. Yes.
Once you have all this together, I would be willing to put together a brochure, just a
Okay.
little that people could use as time.
There you go.
That would be great. That'd be amazing. Now let's get back to this. So, answer the question. It should be your neighbors, right?
Yeah.
Some people that you can tell. Before we even started people's rights, we had this 10, 100, 1,000. This was kind of a theory we were working on, and 10,000. And this would be, in 10 minutes, you'd have 10 people respond. In 100 minutes, you have 100 people respond. And so on for 1,000 minutes, 10,000 minutes. Like when one person was in need, their rights were being violated. 10 people would surround that person in 10 minutes. 100 people would surround that person in 100 minutes. And so on and so forth. Now, we could try to duplicate that, right? But it can only happen in your neighborhoods. Because they've got to be there. They got to be close by, yes.
I'm not professing that this has got any real, I'm not prophesizing anything, I'm not trying to forecast anything. But I do have a friend that's a lieutenant colonel in the Army who told me, and this is to emphasize the urgency that you've been displaying here in the front, that we need to get going now. This is not something we need to do tomorrow or after lunch next week. This has to happen today. You need to gear up, we need to start supporting each other, and we need to start communicating immediately. December 21st, he told me that's the date that you need to be looking, because they're getting back information, back channel information, that something is coming down the line, something's coming down the pipe, and December 21st is the date that they've heard so far.
Thank you.
So that's in 3 days.
I would like to, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established, right? That is the third time I have heard that. Well, you are the third person that I've heard that from.
That in January 6th.
So, anyway, I have no idea. So he said that he has a very good friend who is a what? He's a lieutenant colonel, that would be in the Army, and has expressed to him the need for us to be prepared for December 21st, correct? And I'm not sure what is happening that time. There has been some that have theories on that, but that came from a lieutenant colonel in the Army. So, yes.
Two legislators.
Here.
Two legislators and myself have been communicating in the last week or so fairly extensively. I initiated some of it based on reading I was doing. And there's agreement with them that it appears between now and the 6th of January that we can anticipate, well, they use the word bigly, which isn't really a word, but some horrendous violence in anticipation that Trump will not leave the White House. And that would be based on the constitutional right of Congress to vote him in response to arbitration in various states as to the electoral outcome. And so they are, last word they told me was, make sure you got plenty of food and water and you got ammunition.
Okay, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. I have also been told that same thing by one other person. You have to do it quickly, we're running out of time.
All right, you don't have time to prepare and take your time. You have to do this now. You should already be meeting with your neighbors, okay? You need to organize your neighbors. You need to find out what they have and what they don't have, okay? You need to find out what their foodstuffs are. How prepared are they? Do they have a 2-year supply? Do they have a 2-month supply? They better have a 4-month supply anyway, okay? Communication. If you've done away with your landline, you were wrong. If you can hook back up your landline, you're going to need it, because we're going to lose cell phones and we're going to lose internet. You better have other communication devices. Ham radios, CB radios, landline phones, okay? Gearing up, you should already be geared up. If you don't have your pack in your car tonight that you can walk home, if we get hit with an EMP, you are not prepared. You need to have your bug out pack with you. You need to have your firearms with you, starting tonight, if you don't already have it. Your support needs to be logistical. If you're going to organize these people, you need to find out what type of 24-hour system and what type of perimeter you can set up, okay? And you need to set that perimeter. You need to be able to protect that perimeter. And you have to do that logistically. So the neighbors that you have to be able to shift work to provide that protection. The people that cannot provide that protection need to be cooking the food to protect the people, to feed the people that are protected, okay? They're logistically, you need to get this done. You better start on it tonight and tomorrow. You need to meet with your neighbors. You have to get them prepared. You have to get them in line with you. And you have to find out if they're going to be with you or against you. If they slam the door in your face, you know that they are going to be an enemy, okay? Remember that when things go down, people are going to want to come and take what you have. You need to be prepared for that. You can offer them something and tell them don't ever come back, or you may have to do the ultimate. But you better be prepared in your mind for all of that, okay?
Very good advice. Thank you very much. I wanted to say this, and then I would love for John to get back up here and to close us out with some music, and we will end this. This is a message to the military. This is a message to law enforcement, if you will. I do not believe that law enforcement was the purpose. These small units, if you are a righteous man or woman, should not intimidate you. You should not feel threatened by the American people organizing in small units to defend themselves. You should not be threatened by that. We will stand with you and beside you in the defense of our liberties if you will just make that decision. We are not a threat to you. And so look at what we are doing as something positive, something that is right, something that our founders understood clear back when. We are not a threat to you.
Right.
If you are a righteous man or woman, you should not deem what we are talking about here today as a threat. You should deem it as something that you support, that you want us to do, that you encourage us to do, and that you even assist us in doing it. That's what you should do.
That's right.
And that is our message today. Please come out. And I hope after all this talk that we can take a few minutes and feel the Spirit of the Lord so that peace will come into us. And then we will close this meeting and go home and prepare now. Thank you.
Thank you.
everybody in here will derive courage from what they've heard today, and that they will walk in the bravery and authority that God gives. And I proclaim in Jesus' name that everybody in this room will stand by the neighbors that are abiding. And as Robert said also, they'll approach and deliver with love to start with. So they're capable, so you and I, so I am capable of discerning who's going to stand by me and who's not. Who has the wisdom from heaven, which is far better than the intellect and how much you learn in colleges. Wisdom of heaven rather than the cognitive dissonance.